Welcome to Walking Together Through Cancer. My name is Vic Coleman, and today we have a special video for you. It's an interview with my friend Carol Maki, who was not only diagnosed with breast cancer, but later on was the caretaker for her husband who was diagnosed with prostate cancer. So you get a chance to hear about their trials and tribulations, their whole story from a financial, emotional, and health perspective. So stay tuned. I think you're going to get a lot out of this video that's going to help you in your walk through cancer. Hi, this is Vic Coleman with another segment of Walking Together Through Cancer. And I've got a very special guest here, Carol Maki. She and I have been knowing each other for, I guess, 5 or 6 years through work. And her husband was diagnosed with cancer. He passed away earlier this year. But she's been kind enough to agree to do this Zoom session and just tell her story. And I feel like through her story, based on what she's told me, that it will really help a lot of people. So, Carol, thank you for joining us here, and I appreciate it. And I guess really just give us a little bit of a background between you and Charles, and like how long you've been married and where'd you meet, and just kind of start from there.
Okay. Well, I came to Houston in 1980 and we started a tire supply company. And Charles was one of my very first customers. He worked
Really?
he worked for General Tire, which was on Broad and 45 way back then. And we were just pals. And it went different in 2004. We both left marriages, and we've been married for 16 years.
Wow.
Before he passed. And he was diagnosed with prostate cancer. And the doctor said, "Hey, your numbers are really low. Now, if your PSA is 100, I'm going to tell you to go home and put your ducks in a row." But he said, "We have a process." So they started him out. They gave him a shot every 4 months to keep the cancer at bay.
Mm-hmm.
And then they gave him 4 horse pills that are about an inch long that he had to take every day. And I'll let you know about this. His urologist had his office contact, but whoever made those pills, because those pills are $14,000 a month.
Wow.
And so the doctor's office called and said, "Hey, good news, we got it down to 2,500. And I said, "Well, since his Social Security check is about $1,700, that's going to be a little tough to manage."
No
So
joke.
they went back to the drawing board and they called and they finally told us that they're going to give it to us free.
Wow.
So he took those pills for 2 years, and then we go and have his PSA about 9 months ago, and they said it was rising again. I said, "Well, he had 59 radiation treatments."
59.
59, one in the morning, one at night, for 6 weeks, every workday.
Wow.
So we had all of those treatments. So I said to the doctor, "Now, how is that possible?" But they're so precise now that they pinpoint where it is, and that's where they send the radiation.
Right.
The doctor said very possibly one cell got out of there. And so we have to go and deal with that. But when he took these shots, it just kind of went away. So he was a trooper. He never complained. He was never in any pain or anything like that. They said generally after a couple of weeks when you take radiation that you're going to kind of crater and feel bad and be tired. But he never did that for some reason. He never did that. He just rocked on. He was my driver every day. I'm in outside sales and he drove me. And so we did that, and we had good support here at home, good support at work. And I don't know what else I could tell you. But
Wow.
when he passed away from emphysema. So the cancer was still that was undetectable after he took all those shots and all that medicine. I kind of mixed up here. When he first got diagnosed, he did radiation.
Okay.
And then he went for a couple of years, and then the doctor said, there's a loose cell because we're detecting cancer again. So that's when they started giving him a shot every 4 months and then the pills every day.
Okay, so just so I make sure I got it. So you did, when he first got diagnosed, the first treatment that they had was radiation, and that was 2 treatments per day?
Per day, 5 days a week for 6 weeks.
Wow.
You know, there's other ways to do it. There's way to go with surgery and remove the prostate. He didn't want to do that. There's something called gold seeds that they implant. That several people we know up in Boston have done that. But the doctor felt that this radiation was going to do the best job.
Okay. So he had some options as far as the surgery, and then I guess you said the gold seed. Was that given as an option also?
Yep. He was told about all that. But we live here by Ellington Air Force Base where the doctor's office is. And that's where the radiation treatment is. So we would just leave our home, cross the freeway, get a treatment, zip, zap, and we were out and back to work.
Yeah.
And then we would come back in the afternoon, 4:30, something like that. He'd had go in, they'd take him right away, did the radiation right away, and we were out. And I would say in less than 15 minutes.
Okay,
I mean, it's a pain in the neck, but.
So your radiation treatments lasted what, about 10 minutes maybe?
Oh yeah. Well, I don't even know because I wasn't back there, but I can say from the time we walked in till we walked out, it was 15 minutes.
15 minutes. So they had to be probably 5 minutes, because by the time you go there and you lay down, they get you lined up. You know, that's at least 5 minutes right there. So it must have been like 5 minutes per session as far as actual getting radiated.
Radiation, yeah.
Right. Okay, so that was, now before, I guess when you found out he had a problem, was it just he had normal male prostate issues, or was there some pain, or
Nope, never any pain. And I'm trying to remember, I guess, you know, that peeing was a little hard for him. So we went to the urologist.
Yeah.
So then we started getting a PSA test every 6 months.
Okay.
And they found it right away.
Right.
And so he was just a trooper through the whole thing. He never complained about it. I think he adopted the attitude of it is what it is.
Yeah.
You know, by that time he was 70 and he felt like, you know, whatever was going to happen was going to happen. And he just had the best attitude, which really makes a difference.
Yeah. Now, what about you as being a caretaker? What was it like for you?
You know, I feel like it was surreal because he just never talked about it. You know, we just kind of got in a car, went across the freeway, had the radiation, bim bam, I'm off making sales calls and doing all that all day. Then we would come home. He just never got sick. He was always able to take care of himself. He was fortunate from that respect.
Right.
But for me, I believe he's the one that made it easy for me.
Okay. So really it's the person who's been diagnosed, how they respond to
Right. I
the
think
whole deal
sets the pattern for the rest of us, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, that's good. That's going to really, I think, help some folks. So he went through just to kind of make sure I understand the history here. So he had his 50 some odd treatments, and I guess the PSA showed that it was under control or looked
Right.
like it
It
was under
says,
control?
I said, what was the wording?
In remission?
Untraceable, I think was
Untraceable. Okay.
untraceable. And so he went on after he had those radiation treatments. I wish I would have given it a little more thought, because I'm trying to remember. I would say he went a good 5 years.
Oh, wow.
And then, we went to have the PSA and the meeting with the doctor once a year. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, he said, your PSA is elevated. We got to do something about that.
Okay.
And, but not elevated enough to get all shook up about, but still, when you know you have it, you want to get rid of it.
What about at that time, he was given options on the pill, or, I guess different options there, and surgery, I guess, was still on the table as far as the doctor was concerned?
I'm not sure that he ever brought that up again. I
Hmm.
think that in 5 years' time, maybe it had progressed enough where he could give him a shot and he could give him pills. And so he was 2 years untraceable after all of this.
Mm-hmm.
And the doctor's office had to reapply for the medicine a second year. So he took those pills every day for 2 years. And they've got it, some sort of the treatment under control, for him at least. And he was just the best guy. Like I say, I think that being around him, he just never would let you know that there was any issues. I'm sure there must have been times, nights or something where anyone that has the big C is going to worry.
Right.
I don't know if you remember, but I went through breast cancer, and that was back in 2008. And you have your regular mammogram and they call you back. Oh boy, that's not good. So I went back, and they said they needed a biopsy. So they do the biopsy. And then we're here by Memorial Herman, right over here on Beamer.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in surgery within 3 days, and
Mm.
it was just a lumpectomy. And
Right.
then I had to do radiation, but my radiation was twice a day for 5 days.
Hmm.
And so, I mean, we just kind of, if I can say the right word, we just sort of floated through it, you
Yeah.
know. And so mine was very quick, bim bam, and never had another problem.
Oh,
And
okay.
that
So
was in 2008. So
did it get into any of your lymph nodes? You had to have lymph
nope,
nodes removed, or was
they
it
had
just
some removed, and there was no more cancer. So
wow, that's
what
good.
he said was kind of loose cells that hadn't gotten very organized yet.
Mm-hmm.
That he caught it early enough. He just went in there and basically told me, suck them out, just get rid of those cells.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that was after your lumpectomy and radiation, then you were pretty much good. You've been good to go ever
That's
since.
it. I've been good to go ever since.
Wow. Well, how did it I mean, what was it like when you first heard, hey, we're gonna need to call you back in for the biopsy?
Well, I tried to keep a positive attitude, and it happened very fast. You come in tomorrow. And so then I have an appointment with my regular doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And she came in. I felt she came in and she had the report in her hand. And she started reading mumbo jumbo that, Charles and I are looking at each other. Well, thinking it must not be cancer, or she'd have told me straight out.
Yeah, yeah.
And she's reading and reading and reading about this and that and the other thing. And finally she says, and it's cancer. And, I think that was probably the worst part of it, the way I was told about it.
Yeah.
Because we both were numb at that point. Holy mackerel, it just kind of snuck up on us. And she said, it's cancer. And you got to go see this surgeon. And the surgeon's wife had died from breast cancer. So he was very adamant about, don't you take one more hormone pill. Because after I had the hysterectomy, I had the hot flashes so bad it was hard to function. So he upped my estrogen every time I saw him when we couldn't, finally got it under control. But I was taking the top dose of estrogen, and so that's what caused it. And that doctor looked at me and he said, I don't know you, but I'm gonna tell you right now, don't you take another one of those pills.
Yeah. Now that you mention that, I'm kind of thinking back with my wife, because she had breast cancer in 2002. And I forgot exactly how they phrased it, because it's been almost 20 years, but it was estrogen positive something. But the bottom line is that estrogen promoted or enhanced that growth. It's good that it was caught early and that they were able to take care of it with the lumpectomy. And you said they did get a few lymph nodes out and check those also. There's a video I have on the different stages of cancer. And, I kind of explained that once it gets into your lymph node system, your lymph node system's like a highway, interstate for chemicals and enzymes and hormones throughout your whole body. So if you can keep it from getting into your lymph node system, through early detection, that's really the best thing. Because once it gets there, then it's the greater chance of it going to another organ. Yeah. So, okay. So you've been cancer free for a number of years. So let me ask you this. What, first, as a breast cancer survivor, what advice or recommendations or anything you want to pass on to people, particularly women who have been diagnosed with breast cancer, or any advice along those lines?
I have one that's kind of silly that you can cut out if you want to. But like when I would be in the yard on the weekend, I put my cell phone in my bra. And I read an article that says that that is really a bad thing to do. And I can tell you, I got breast cancer right where that phone sat. Now, I don't know. When I see young women doing that, I wish they wouldn't, I really don't know. But I read somewhere that that's a common denominator for getting this breast cancer stuff. So many of us are doing the same thing.
Yeah. Now, did you have regular mammograms?
Yes.
Good.
Had one yesterday. Yep.
No, I guess the reason why I asked that is because I don't know all the circumstances, because I wasn't sitting in there with my mom and her doctor. And my mom and her doctor had been friends for 30, almost 40 years. But my mom didn't have a mammogram for like 5 years. And by the time she had her mammogram, it was already stage 3. And so, I can't really speak to the details of why not. And but I think, what I'm hearing from you is having regular mammograms. That's one of the things you would recommend.
That is for sure. There was when I first got breast cancer, I have 3 sisters, and I had read that 1 out of 4 women, and I guess that was corrected to 1 out of 8. But my little sister said to me, 1 out of 4, well, hey, thanks for taking the bullet for me. And we laughed about that at the time. Well, guess who showed up with breast cancer last year? She did.
Wow.
And hers was the same as mine, and she's rocking on. So, and because I'm older than she is, I'm about 10 years older, but she takes regular mammograms, and so did my other sisters, because it's there. Our grandmother had breast cancer. And then
Mm,
when you go to the doctor and they ask you, has anybody had breast cancer? There's a big X,
yeah,
so people's lives can be saved if you would just do mammograms and do colonoscopies and all those things that people are afraid of.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what advice would you give to, well, I guess kind of before we leave there, um, I guess knowing your family history is real important too,
Yes.
because you said that your grandmother had
Yep.
breast cancer,
Mhm.
and then you had a sister that had breast cancer. You had
First
breast
cousin, a first
first.
cousin.
Okay. So if cancer seems to be kind of prevalent in your family, then it's best just to get things checked out on a regular basis.
Yes. And there are places like the Rose that I think that they do it at a reduced rate.
Hmm.
Um, I've been lucky. I've had decent insurance and been able to have that. And that's a lot of what people shy away from is the economic end of it. That they just, I don't know what it costs. Probably costs $800 if you were, paying out of pocket. I'm not sure, or more.
Yeah. Now that's
Because I had Charles's daughter with me yesterday after I had a mammogram, and I asked her, "Are you doing mammograms? You're 51 years old now," and she said no. And I said, "I'm sure that you can go to Galveston and get a mammogram if you need one." Now, your mother had breast cancer, her mother.
hmm
And I said, you have to listen to that. If your mother had breast cancer, you need to listen to that. So I don't know if I made a dent, but I hope so.
man, there was just a lot of information in that video. And you know what? There's even more to come. So fire up part 2 of this series and learn how Carol had to deal with the financial aspects of her husband's diagnosis. It's really interesting and encouraging.